This is a continuation of the first video on being a street vendor in New York City. And in that video, I more or less pointed out the fact that I had no trouble with the police. There was a mutual respect between us, and I never was in any way maliciously treated by the police. But I did have one incident, and I want to point out in this incident, it could be possible that the person the policeman was drunk or whatever. Police are like anybody else. They have their stress, they have their own problems, and if those problems are not taken care of properly, they will show up in their work and the way that they interact with the public. Now, what happened was one time after we had finished our work in front of the Empire State Building, we took the subway. Now, there's a definite rule against taking large packages onto the subway, especially at rush hour, when there's many people riding the cars. And we ignored it, and we decided to get on the subway and go home, which is a short distance. Well, as we went to the turnstile, in those days there was a turnstile. In other words, you had to push it and go through. And my girlfriend was in front of me, and she was carrying the package, and I was behind her. And there was no way to know that we were together. And as she entered the turnstile, the policeman standing nearby took his baton, his stick, and brought it down on this rack. Why he did that, I don't know, but he did. And it broke it, and everything fell on the floor. And it was quite a shock and a surprise. I don't know why the policeman did that. He could have said something. No, lady, you can't take that in. No, he didn't do that. He just simply brought his baton down on the rack, and it fell apart. Well, it caught my girlfriend and started crying, and of course she was surprised and that this happened to her. And I was right behind, and I turned to the policeman, and not in an angry way. I just turned to the policeman and said, "Well, did you have to get that rough with her?" And at that, he grabbed me, threw me against the wall. And I didn't know, he didn't beat me or anything like that, but he threw me against the wall and then pulled me across the subway platform and threw me in a broom closet and closed and locked it. And this is weird. I mean, I only said to the policeman, did you have to do that? Be that rough? And I was in there, and every now and then he would open the door and threaten to shoot me. I mean, not kidding him. He says, "It's only 98 cents between you and death." I said, "What is wrong with this man?" And I was really frightened because I could see that he was not under control of his own feelings and actions. And some of the other policemen come up and said, "Hey, don't be so rough now. You just give him a ticket. Just give him a ticket. And now I'm going to kill this son of a bitch." I mean, I'm telling you, this really happened. And he said, "Well, give him a ticket, that for disorderly conduct." I was disorderly, but anyhow, I was in that, very frightened, and I didn't know what I was going to do or what was going to happen. But all of a sudden, things changed outside. People gathered, and there was quite a crowd and an uproar because everybody saw what was happening, and I'm sure they felt for my safety. Well, anyhow, after a while in that closet, he finally pulls me out and gives me a ticket for disorderly conduct. Well, I found out the reason why that he decided to change his mind. Number one, the wife of the captain of that precinct was in the subway station, and she saw what happened and called her husband. And I'm sure that, in order for the captain made things differently. Another part of that was the New York Times came down and reported that incident. In other words, it wasn't just a little incident. This whole thing was blown way out of proportion. And I left after that, very shooken up. And the other thing is that I later called the captain and said to the captain, I'm not going to come to the police, to court on this. This will be an embarrassment to both of us. I said, I think you need to do something about that policeman. Well, this is an added comment, and I didn't go, and there wasn't any repercussions about it. But policemen are just like anybody else. I had no more incidents like that, but it was more to be afraid of other vendors and other people on the street. Where one incident was that I had gone to a place I usually don't go to sell my stuff, and somebody comes up, well, a black man, I'm sorry, he was black, was blind, and he had his dog with him, okay, I guess this is guide dog or whatever, and he comes up and he senses something different. He says, is there somebody here? Is there somebody here? I said, yeah, I'm here, he says, you can't be here. I said, why not? Because, this is just a location. Okay, we can both stand here and sell whatever we're selling. I don't remember what he was selling. But anyhow, he says, no. He says, this won't happen. He says, you got to go. And as he came closer to me with his dog, and then his dog suddenly attacked me. He tore my pants and growling and going on, and all of a sudden a policeman shows up. And he says, come on, Carl, no, none of this nonsense. Okay? So they pull the dog off, and I was standing there with my pants all ripped, and the policeman says, well, that's Carl. I keep warning him about it, but he seems to think that this is his spot. He says, okay, now, you both of you, go on now. Well, you might say, in this incident, that the policeman saved me. I didn't know what was going to happen next. And I had another incident. I was in the village selling my stuff, a spot I usually don't go to, but I had gone there to sell my stuff, and I hadn't sold anything yet, and the guy comes up with a gun and points a gun at me. He says, give me your money. I said, man, I haven't got any money, I haven't sold anything yet. What's the idea of coming along and robbing a poor man on the street? He says, well, I need some money. I just got out of jail. I said, well, why don't you go over and rob that store across the street? They got plenty of money. He looked at me and said, hey, that's a great idea. Then he went across the street and robbed the store. New York's a crazy town. I believe me, I can tell you many stories similar to this, especially when you're on the streets of New York. You never can tell what's going to happen. So I just wanted to tell a couple more stories about police and my interaction with them on the street. Okay, you guys, I'll see you. Bye-bye.